Good morning, everyone. This is Fred Emery with Heartland. I'd like to thank you for joining us today for another one of our webinars in our spring webinar series. This webinar will be about Papercut. Joining me today is Joe Polino from Papercut. Joe will be going into the Papercut solution and showing you really how it operates, how it works with OneCard, and telling you a little bit more about Papercut. But just before we get started, this webinar is in listen-only mode. If you'd like to ask any questions, please simply go to the GoToWebinar control panel. You'll see an area where it says questions. Just type in your questions there. We'll be monitoring it, and we'll read those questions aloud and answer them throughout the presentations if we can. However, we will allow time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. We are recording this webinar, and we'll be posting it on our website. We do need to send it to our marketing team, which will then post it. That usually takes about a week or so, but it will be available on our website. Just simply go to onecard.com. That's the number 1, CARD.com. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, it'll show recent webinars, or at the bottom in the footer, you'll see an area where we'll say webinars as well. Just click on that, and you'll be able to view the webinar. So let's get started. Today on this webinar, we'll cover a few objectives. One is we'll tell you a little bit about Heartland, why you would want to integrate printing, review the financial accounts that can be utilized for payment of printing within the OneCard system when connected with Papercut, talk to you a little bit more about the integration, how Papercut and OneCard communicate, and then go into the deep dive of the Papercard system by Joe from Papercut. So as most of you know, I'm with Heartland. Heartland is the 5th largest payment processor in North America. We do process standard credit and debit cards at over 300,000 merchants, which equals about 3.3 billion transactions a year and $122 billion in volume. OneCard is just one of the products of Heartland and fits into our core philosophy of processing transactions. We'll take a card and allow you to process it for anything financial or privilege-based. So looking at print management and why you'd want to integrate printing and bring Papercut into your OneCard solution, just a couple of key points. It does help you reduce paper waste on campus. In the past, we've seen a lot of students send jobs to print and then leave it when it's free printing. However, when you tend to charge for printing, that does go down, and you see students not sending as much to print in your computer labs and whatnot. That saves a lot on paper and provides a greener environment. Convenience, of course. Students can manage then that single account in OneCard to pay for their printing. They're not having to have a separate print account or print card to do so, and they're already using the card for other payments. So it's part of their daily life. It's the norm for them. Consolidation of services, of course, bringing that all together using a consolidated and cohesive database, recovering costs and increasing revenue from the charging of printing, and then, of course, providing increased services to your students. Now, the Papercut solution does communicate to our transaction gateway. They've gone through the standard process that we've done and certified to OneCard. We've run them through a number of tests, the transactions, and have a very open relationship with Papercut to make sure that any changes that are made, the process won't be affected by that and will continue to function. That's why that standard API, that standard transaction gateway, is such a bonus. Because as we make changes, it will not affect then our third parties and how they process to the OneCard system. So Papercut has done the work necessary to our API, has certified against a sandbox, our test database, and have the necessary documentation to show that they've certified with OneCard. Now, in the area of processing those transactions, you do have the ability to use any of our 12 account balances that are within OneCard to hold the funds for processing those transactions that come through from Papercut as a job is submitted and then paid for with the OneCard account. What we see is most campuses will use their general fund for the print management aspect, possibly have some free print dollars in a secondary balance, which will be pulled from first before going to the general balance. You can set up how you want those funds to flow automatically through the use of the bill types in OneCard. But we do see most within the OneCard system, you can separate the revenue centers by the defined general ledger account. So that will allow you to make sure your printing management, your printing funds are separated. So what we'll do now is I'm going to turn this over to Joe, and we're going to really get into the Papercut solution so that you can see what it does and how it functions. Joe, I'm going to change the presenter over to you.
Excellent. You can hear me, correct, Fred?
I can hear you, yes. And if you could just share your screen then.
Let me know you can see the logo says Papercut.
Yes, you are showing what you, from your computer, I can see it.
Excellent. So we're good to go, right?
Yep, ready to go.
All right. I want to thank everybody for really taking the time out of their day-to-day to really learn about how Papercut can really help complement your existing Heartland OneCard solution. Papercut is a print management solution that is fastly growing within the higher education space around the world. Let me introduce myself. My name is Joe Polino. I work for one of Papercut's solution centers across the actually we support North America as well as South America. Our goal is to help organizations like Heartland to properly quote, position, offer the correct services and configurations to their clients. One of the great things is EcoPrint Cube actually was one of the founding teams to work with Heartland to develop the payment gateway connection. So we're very proud of that. So our goal is to assist with pre-sales, design, configuration, help with implementation services, as well as become the post-support team. So if there's actually an issue with Papercut where it's not operable, like any software, we become your help desk. Our goal is also to work with you and your IT team to truly understand how Papercut works, to be able to do some troubleshooting on your own to try to resolve, and then contact us to assist you guys. We are actually available 8 to 8 Eastern, and if there's any requirements past that, we do have the availability to roll our support calls to Papercut in Australia, which we would only miss out of 24 hours, 1 hour, I believe. So it's a really nice fit. Who Papercut is. And I apologize if some of you actually do know who Papercut is, and some of the management ideas I'm going to review today might be a little elementary, but it's a good overview. Papercut, it was manufactured in Australia. It's been in existence 16, 17 years right now. We fit in many organizations. The sweet spot is actually higher education. One of the main reasons is because Papercut was originally developed in the education space, co-founded by two guys that were IT directors at a school district in Australia. The biggest issue, hey, can you help us figure out how to reduce our overall printing footprint? So they started developing code for what would manage network printing and then local printing as well, and that developed into what's known as Papercut NG. Papercut NG stands for Next Generation, and it's strictly print management. Some of you actually may already have Papercut NG in your environment or may have used it just to start tracking what's actually happening from students or as well as staff members. Where it evolved to is actually now going from print management to what we classify as print and device management, where it's classified now as Papercut MF. Papercut MF actually stands for the multifunction device, and it actually will now regulate and manage and track user transactions, not just from printing, but it'll also track those transactions when it comes down to copying, scanning, and faxing. Every multifunction device may be a little different. So there might be different architectures that we have to deal with. Some might be older products, some are newer products, but we have a tendency of usually integrating with most solutions that are currently out there. And we are vendor agnostic, so we really become vendor neutral in anything we do to make sure that Papercut is going to be properly deployed within your environment through the support of Heartland. This slide shows you a little bit the vertical markets that we fit in. As I mentioned, it was developed originally in the education space, but we do have a fit in all vertical markets. But today we're focusing on education. My slides may be a little consistent, but what makes up Papercut and how the licensing is set in place is relatively simple. We focus on a number of Active Directory users. That can be for student and staff, or just student or just staff, depends on what you want to actually focus to. They can be what's known as sync source users with LDAP AD, or it can be actually what we call internal users created. A lot of organizations, we truly understand that you may have an enrollment of 5,000 students and staff members total, but you may have 15, 20,000 listed in Active Directory. Papercut understands that, and what we do is we provide you with what's known as exception licensing approval that will compensate for you to actually have the appropriate licensing that would encompass and take over what is currently in Active Directory, but only charge you for what you're truly using. So they're a pretty progressive company. They've seen most of it. I'm not going to say they've seen it all, but they truly understand what you go through from a higher education footprint and what you have to actually manage to, and they try to make it as simple as possible. On top of the user licensings, there is the multifunction embedded if you decide to use secure release, and I'll show you a little bit of that in a few more slides. And then the payment gateway licensing to Heartland, and it depends on how you decide to release. There might be hardware requirements as well. And then, like any software that's pretty much out there, there's support, so you'll have an up desk or a help desk, as well as the availability to have all the version updates, the new builds, patches, anything that comes out will be available to you via the software support process as well. 2013, Papercut won BLI Award. A lot of times when I start working with schools like yourself, I'll say, hey, what are you looking for in a management solution? Depends on how we talk and who we talk to, IT, CT, CTO, CIO, CIO, everybody's from technical or financial. I usually get about 6 of these. We're looking for simplicity, functionality, value, revolves around the pricing. Hey, will it work with our existing systems? Hey, will it work with Heartland? And the answer is obviously yes, and it makes us easily to be able to say why this award was very valuable to us. So I started off by explaining the development of Papercut. There's NG and MF, very simple slide. Papercut NG did all the print tracking on the back end, local and network. What it lacked was the ability to embed to the multifunction devices and provide what's known as secure printing, or find me, follow me printing, where you can print. It's paused, you authenticate a device, identify your print job, the one that you want to release, select it, and print it, and delete what you don't. Papercut MF now actually adds that. As I said, it stands for multifunction, and it now allows you to do tracking the attributes of the user transactions from the multifunction device and providing that secure print capability. So what the product looks like, the core values is obviously authentication, who's printing, who it is, that user's behavior, what's happening. Can we generate cost savings by actually putting rules in place, conversions, restrictions, convert something from color to black and white, make a recommendation to convert something from color to black and white, simplex to duplex. We can generate those reports, so you can actually now start developing new print policies in the future, and then provide an added layer of security. Papercut is a server-based software application. It does require a database. It does come with a standard Apache Derby database, but it does have some limitations. It works in SQL, Oracle. It works with SQL Express or MySQL as well. It can work in a VM 2003 all the way to 2012 R2, and then we also work with what we classify as secondary print servers. So if you have a campus that has multiple locations, we want to improve the process of printing. We actually load what's known as a print provider to the secondary print server, so the print jobs are actually being paused at that campus level and being released locally, so it doesn't have to keep going back and forth and sucking up bandwidth in any kind of way from secondary campus to a main campus. So we support Windows, Mac, Linux, and Novell. We also support cloud printing, mobile printing. We track pretty much any kind of user that you have, any kind of client that might be consistent with those operating systems as well. I mean, we have the ability to release it a multi-function device. And one of the other key things for higher education is for staff members that may be bringing in their own local printers. We also have the flexibility to track those local prints as well. So it's a pretty very simplified system. It is administered, and it's a browser-based solution. And it also, just to give you a heads up, it can be hosted in the cloud. So if many of you are leveraging any kind of third-party cloud hosting solutions or scenarios, we actually have that flexibility to work, and we have a very nice white paper around that as well. So getting back to the kind of beginning why we're here, partnered with Heartland is nice because, as Fred mentioned, you already have an investment into the system, the OneCard system. Your students are actually leveraging, the financials are there. Whether you're giving printing away for free or a balance in the beginning and you want to charge after the fact, that's where the payment gateway to the OneCard system really comes into play. We can actually have a student either automatically get charged per transaction, meaning if they have a zero balance and they go file print, it's going to go and it's going to debit that 15-20 cents against their Heartland balance. Or you can have the flexibility that the students can replenish their account balance in blocks, $1, $2, $5, whatever you deem feasible. Very nice, tight integration. Very simple for us to deploy. There is some information on the back end that we work with Fred and his team on to ensure that we make it easy for you. We don't want you guys searching for too much. They provide the additional resources during the implementation side, so we get it done the first time and right and on time as a project should be. I reviewed a little bit of this, but these are some of the core features for Papercut. And a lot of organizations may start by putting Papercut in what we classify as silent mode, and they're just going to start tracking on user usages, report on that usage. That usage actually will start developing potential quotas. You may realize that the students are printing exorbitant amount of paper for free. You may already have a quota system in place. It's up to you. But now we can actually start applying a balance to them. We call it a restricted balance. Some may know it as a quota. And those reports will start generating best practices. Should we automatically duplex? Should we convert from color to black and white? Should we restrict color printing from emails? Those are all added costs that really maybe it's a specific application that should not be in color. We have that flexibility to set in place to make the student aware, make the staff member aware, automatically put it and enforce it, or make it conditional. As I mentioned before, it's web-based, very simple. We have a tight integration to many different multifunction devices. I'll show you that list in a little bit. And we also have some basic mobile print with Google Cloud Print, email to print, that we have a lot of flexibility to really work with within your organization. You guys being pretty much vendor neutral, you have some of your own hardware providers. Heartland provides the software. We, as Papercut, work with pretty much everything that's out there, and we'll have that flexibility to really work with you and design a solution that is accurate for what you need. On top of the reports, we also have the flexibility to generate environmental reports. Some organizations, this is very vital. You may have a green initiative going on. A lot of times the campuses that I've worked with in the past, the students are driving that. This is an extra way to kind of give back to them to share that with Papercut, we're actually able to provide these reports. You can tie it to your sustainability reports and go from there. Core value of Papercut.
For just a moment. I did get a message in that was asking if you could please speak a little closer to the receiver. It was coming across a little muffled.
Okay. I am pulling my phone closer to me.
Thanks, Joe. That's all I could ask.
Not a problem. Well, I was kind of walking around. So I hope this is better. I'll talk up a little bit as well. So now you're going to say, Joe, shut up, be quiet. It's up to you guys.
Never.
So, all right, so moving forward here. Core value of Papercut, if you're not currently using any kind of print management solution and you add what's known as Find Me Printing or Secure Printing. The great thing about it, a user prints, it's being archived. They walk up to the device, they identify their jobs, they select the ones they want to release, and they can delete the jobs that they don't want, or the system can automatically purge itself. One of the core values is the fact that there's no waste. Jobs aren't waiting at printers unclaimed, banner pages behind the library counter with student printing that never gets picked up, all those scenarios. If you don't print it, it's not costing you any money. We typically see about a 20% reduction of cost just from that alone. It's a great value. Now if you start adding additional rules like those conversions, color to black and white, simplex to duplex, your cost savings will now go up. And these are all the simple recommendations that you can apply. Nobody's going to complain that they're saving paper. It's a great way to start impacting the environment within the campus and show your green initiatives as well. Every organization, you can configure what the end user sees differently. This is just a couple of examples. We can get into detail a little bit later, or questions come up. We call it a print policy alert. It's a script. It's a Java script that we load. There's about 60 of these for higher education. They're tailorable, so if every school is not the same, we can put your logo into it, and we also have the flexibility of changing the text. Your printing terminology may not be the same as what every other college or other colleges use or what we use from our demo purposes. But here's a policy alert. The page is bigger than a size limit. Can't go. Maybe somebody's trying to print a local printer. You want to drive it to a global queue or a more cost-effective device. So this is just one example. There's another one. Please use double-sided printing. It's just a recommendation. Convert to duplex or continue on your way. One of the great things is we have the flexibility of putting in a cost savings into this, showing what it means to the environment. Another is please don't print multi-page emails. Maybe you just want that first page. Maybe, again, it depends on the organization. Everybody's a little different, but these are just some sample reports or sample policy alerts, flexibility of what's showing. We have a lot of notifications, and you'll see this in a minute. This is one that says, thanks for considering the environment. There's another one that can show, hey, your job's being held in a global queue. Go to the device, authenticate, release it, and pick up your print job. We also have a flexibility that we know that within campuses, if we're focusing the students, you might have teachers' aides that are out there. They have their personal account, but they might also work for the English department. Should that student be charged against a personal account when they're charging towards the department? Every school is a little different. My answer would be no. So we have the flexibility of creating shared accounts. Those shared accounts can be either names or account numbers. So that student or that teacher's aide or that teacher could be a budget code even. They have the flexibility to charge against a different account. So you have your personal account and shared accounts. So the admin dashboard for Papercut is actually pretty simple. It's clicking buttons, making changes. It's browser-based. This shows you the flexibility of how we can actually make those filters and restrictions I was talking about. Click the button, select your user group, convert to gray or convert to black and white, convert to duplex, restrict the scope. What users are we charging to? All we do is select the check marks, select the user groups, and hit apply at the bottom. And there's no rebooting of servers. One of the nice things is why the IT administrators seem to like it, because you don't have to kind of get that in depth with your servers to actually have to restart them. Now, find me, follow me printing, simple philosophy. This is what's going to help add to that secure printing. However, the user prints their job, whether it be a Google email, or I'm sorry, a Gmail, Google Docs document, an email to print, a normal PC print, guest print, whatever it is, and we're going to secure it up. Papercut is technically pausing the print job at the print server level, waiting for the user now to authenticate to however we deem to release that, whether it be a multifunction embedded, a keypad, Maybe it's still at the library or print release station scenario. We have many ways to do that, waiting for the user to authenticate. Here's a few examples. We can embed to pretty much most multifunction devices out there, provide that security, to devices that are known as single function printers, which is very common within schools, libraries, law libraries. We can attach to the top right what's known as a CPAD terminal. That CPAD terminal will allow the user to authenticate either with a username and password or the OneCard from Heartland. They'd swipe it, or if it's HID, they'd ding it. It automatically authenticates it in, identifies who that user is, and they have the flexibility now to see their jobs in queue, select the ones they want, release them, delete anything that's in queue they don't want, or as I mentioned before, Papercut can be set up to automatically purge documents that are in queue that haven't been released over a certain period of time. Bottom right is called ID Fast Release for those single function printers. We have the ability for the user to use their Heartland card to swipe or to use the proc side attached to a single function printer. The difference though is there's no preview, so everything in that user's queue will automatically print. Just that user though, not everybody that's in queue. So between the CPAD terminal and AID Fast Release, there's a previewing. As you can see, you got a little 7-inch Linux box to just simply a card reader and what's known as a TCP converter to authenticate to the Papercut system. And last, another easy way to release documents is actually which is known as mobile print release. Depending on your Wi-Fi, your student and staff members actually have the flexibility, if they can access the Papercut web page for mobile print release, they have the ability to authenticate, see their jobs that are in queue, select the ones they want, select the printer they want to release to, and release it. Nice little flexible way. It works very well. It just depends on how progressive you and your students want to get with it. Here's a little view into the copier embedded. Depends on the multifunction, the manufacturer. They all look a little different. Some are more graphical than others. User walks up. We can authenticate with a username and password, or we can use the OneCard system, authenticate with HID or swipe, identifies the user. They're going to be automatically prompted right to the print release station of the settings. They'll see their jobs in queue. They'll see the names, cost preview associated to it. So another great thing is if you're actually charging for the prints out of Heartland or their declining balance, the user will see what it cost when they released it, when they actually sent the print job, and then they'll also have the ability to see it a second time. Hey, this document's 12 pages. It cost me $1.20. Major reason I bring this up, everybody's probably done this, that pesky Excel file. You think you're sending one page, then it's all of a sudden 3,000 pages spitting out at the printer when you get there. Well, if it's paused and in queue, that user, if they see the Excel file and they realize that it's 3,000 pages costing them $4,000, they're going to probably delete it and go resend it and realize they sent the whole file as opposed to just what they needed. So it gives you a little bit of a second sight. Once they select the job and they release it, that's when it will debit against their balance. So I mentioned many different multifunction devices. Canon, certain Okies, Ricoh, Samsung, Sharp, Toshiba, Xerox, Lexmark, Kia Series, Brother, Dell, HP, and Konica Minoltas. I understand that Muratech is actually in process of having a embedded being developed as well, and it's a very nice fit. And I do see that Samsung, oh, there it is, right in the middle. Samsung is on here. So we have a nice fit. Now keep in mind, some of you may have some old copiers. It may not support the architecture. We just need to get a list of what you have, validate that they're supported, and help make recommendations. Not just from the print side in the release, we also have for selecting the departmental accounts. You can do that from the copy as well. So in the top left, if you authenticate into the copier and you select use copier because you're not going to print any longer, that user has a flexibility to charge their personal account or a departmental account as well. So they can select those and then they can make copies, and then all the copies are cached and tracked in the database, So you can generate reports based on that user's transactions, and it'll go against, if you have a restricted balance, it'll go against a restricted balance or charge to the OneCard system. Now, a couple slides ago, I kind of reviewed these, so I'm not going to get deeper because I want to get a little bit showing you the dashboard. But another view into the CPAD terminal, 7-inch Linux box, acts as a print release station, mobile print release, the ID fast release that I mentioned. Go here. The one image did not share the TCP converter, so in essence, the configuration is a software licensing that's part of the Papercut solution. 2 pieces of hardware. Either it's going to be your card swipe or HID, or a pin pad if you decide to do it, and this TCP converter. So what's happening is the TCP converter is actually transacting with Papercut to identify the user as you authenticate to release your print jobs. Reports, this becomes key. This helps you identify who's printing what, where, when, how much is it costing you, and how can you start making better recommendations for new print policies to help control printing or add more value to your patrons, your student and staff members. There's over 50 reports. We can actually leverage these and export them out as PDF, Excel, HTML file formats. They can be scheduled, so they can be sent to the CIO's office, to anybody that you want, to department heads so they can validate the amount of printing, and then you can use these reports to help make recommendations as well. They can be scheduled. They can be sent as a email to certain groups, to a specific user, or they can be sent to a shared folder that you deem access to those users that need to have it. Environmental reports. I'm going to kind of get past print archiving because I want to show you that live. Email to print. And email to print right now, I apologize, this slide was not updated. We can support, what we do is we give your printers an alias email address, and it gets tracked through Papercut provided that user is in Papercut and an email address is associated to it. If it's not, they send their email to the printer. They're going to get an email back saying, hey, please tie this to your user account, and automatically it'll process it. It does only print attachments. It's not going to print the body of the email. But those attachments will support Microsoft Office, PDF, and XPS. Very nice solution. We also support, as of January of last year, we started supporting actually the Google Cloud. So if you're leveraging Gmail accounts, nice tight integration. Google Drive, Google Docs, tight integration. You publish the printer out to that user. That user, if they're actually tied to Google, they have a Google account, and their email address is what would actually get assigned into their user account or their user profile in Papercut. So it pulls it all together. One of the beautiful things about Google Cloud Print, it actually works with both mobile platforms, Android and iOS. You can get the Chrome browser when you have an Android device. I'm sorry, when you have an iOS device. Works fantastic. Nice seamless architecture. On top of that, we do have direct integration with iOS as well. One of the things with iOS, though, is communicating across subnets and tying to Active Directory. We do recommend a solution called Presto. It's a small little application, subscription-based application, that what it'll do is it'll tie the subnets together and allow you to tie to Active Directory or to your sync source. It just streamlines the process for a small little fee, and it works great. iOS devices, if you have it, you kind of already know what you do. You may have a document, or I'm sorry, not a document. You're going to actually see your image, whether it be a picture or an email, and you go to the little arrow. What are you going to do? I want to forward it, reply, print it, and then you pick your supported printers provided it's all registered properly. Select where you want it to go, whether it be direct print or to the Find Me, Follow Me print queues that may be developed. Now, I did reference several times secure printing. Keep in mind, you can still do direct printing and have Papercut track and debit your user account or generate user usage or departmental usage. So it's not just secure print. You can still do direct printing. So I'm going to toggle over to a little bit of my live environment. And one of the great things about Papercut is you can actually customize it. We can brand it with your name into the logos. So we put your colors on it, and you have the ability to see, it's branded more to your university. And this is kind of a simplified version. I apologize. It was for a demonstration we did last week that we're working with them. But this is from the administration dashboard. So from an IT perspective, one of the great things is your staff member that has rights has a good look into the dashboard. First page, what's actually happening? How much data is going through? What are the updates? What are happening? Printer status, real-time activity. You'll see some stuff that's in red. I don't actually have anything online. Everything that I'm doing is kind of virtual, so that's why these printers are actually just made up and fake. So that's why they're in error all the time. And then my solution was actually off, so that's why I couldn't get the email to print capability working on it. I do want to show you that before I move forward. We were talking about that, the simplicity of actually printing emails. So one of the key things, I'm going to compose an email. As I mentioned, you can publish the name of your email to print any way you want. So I have this set up as ecoprintjoseph.findmeprintcolor. That's the name of the printer, the Find Me Print Queue. You actually select it. You can classify this. The student doesn't know. It's Find Me Print Mobile. That's all they need to do. Find Me Print Email to print. So I'm going to test. As I mentioned, it does only print attachments. So attach the document. Okay, should have picked a smaller file. Hit send. Again, I'm leveraging Gmail to do this. You guys, we can use with any email system you currently have. So it works very well. Same thing with the Google Cloud capabilities. I'll just show you uploading a document from Google Drive. So we have actually, picture. One of the great things, as I mentioned, with the email to print, you are limited on file types, but when it comes down to uploading documents with Google Drive, you're technically working out of the Google system. You have multiple document types you can. So I actually open up the document and I'm going to print it. And what you do is you become presented with printers. You're not going to have everything available. Imagine your personal device. But now I'm sharing printers to my Google account from the university, from the college. And as you can see, these two drivers are the ones that were shared. My Find Me Print Color, and I've got another one here. So again, my recent destinations. And this little guy right here, the blue, that actually shows that it's actually a Google supported. I hit print. Now my Google Drive is actually in process of generating that, and it's going to be passing it on to Papercut. Very simple way to actually process files. Give you an example. Let's see if it got here. And here they are. I actually, as you can see, my time 11:42. This came in at 11:41, 11:41. Here's the white paper that I used. That user's name was Miller, signed to my Gmail account. And then here, so that came from email to print, and then here it came from the here it actually came from my Google Cloud. So very, very nice setup, nice configuration. There is some notifications you can set. If I go back, as you can see, here's a notification that came back. Your email to print has been received and is being processed. For details, please visit. So if I'm online on my mobile device, whatever it is, I just want to check it out. I do this. I can actually log into. This is very similar to the mobile release. I log in. I see the jobs that are pending. This would be the same thing if I had my mobile device. It's the same view. I can actually now select the printers that I can release to. Because it's already being held in queue, I'm not going to see the Find Me, Follow Me print queues. So maybe I have multiple direct prints I want to release to, lab printers, whatever it might be. Select the printer, I don't want to release all of them, so I'll get rid of this. I release the ones that are checked, and that job is now left. So very easy. This is actually just a lot of different ways for flexibility for your users. This gives you more options, is what I like to say. So go back to Papercut here. Across the top, the dashboard, as I mentioned, very simple for people to administer, to manage. A lot of flexibility, a lot of options. You choose what you want. So as I showed you the dashboard, we focus on the users. Sync sources can be either LDAP, Active Directory. We can import users. So there's either sync source users or there is internal users. Just depends on how you create them and how do you want to deploy it. We can develop this and get very narrow when we're using LDAP or AD. We can actually get down to specific OUs to make it even tighter for users, groups, departments, and go from there. I'll show you tied to my backbone, but I will go to me, Joseph, and here's my thing. I'm tied to the backbone, my email address, my user. I'm restricted, so I have a declining balance. This is how easy you change it. You don't have to do one-offs. We can pull this in and do bulk actions. Very easy. A little bit of history on Joseph's printing tech trends. Do I actually have that advanced account pop-up? Let me show you. So I select my print driver. It's going to say, all right, this is great. All right, Joseph, here's your cost preview. It's 2 pages. It's going to cost you 40 cents. All right. You are set up to have the advanced cost preview. What do you want to charge to? Your personal account. That's going to be always the default. I can just hit print and it's going to go. Or I have the flexibility of charging to different, this is a configuration. These are just known as shared accounts. We call them departments and we call them courses. So I'm going to charge it to course 5. Hit print. I'm going to get a pop-up because it's set up to go to the Find Me print queue. Hey, your document has been sent. It's now being held in queue. Go release it or it'll be deleted after a certain period of time. So as I mentioned, we have users. Users can be tied to groups. Give you an example. Maybe a group is a specific course or wherever you might want to assign them. How many users are in that? Apologize. Let me load this up. My screen has a tendency of shrinking. So we can tie those users to groups, and then, as I mentioned, we also have accounts. A lot of times we'll classify the account as a shared account, math department, English department, could be a budget code, budget account, whatever you want. We can pull those users in through a bulk action, batch import. We can share account sync, and then we go to the printers tab. Anything that's actually on your network that prints through the server will automatically be pulled into this. It's just going to track it. Anything that prints, including your multifunction devices, they'll fall underneath this as a device. As a printer. And what we do is we create a virtual printer to pause those print jobs. So you can do that Find Me, Follow Me, secure print capability if you choose to. Through the process, as I showed you, jobs pending release. These are the ones that I actually set up. We will actually send this one direct, and you'll see that. Actually, well, cost preview, this actually did go down. Apologize, I didn't have it set up in advance, but this is a cost preview for the user. Actually, you'll see it right here. Querying it, fresh now, based on the user. So now that job has been printed and released. There's notifications we can send back. Those are those pop-ups I showed you. Hey, thank you, or maybe printing's denied, whatever you have in place, however you decide to configure it. Now, on top of this, as I mentioned, we can track network printers. We also can track local printers as well. The workstation for the local printer would need a little client added to it so it can report back to the application server to track the transactions that are happening for that user. Now, when we want to do a secure release, and we want to tie to multifunction devices, those will fall into now what's known as the device tab across the top. So we create those devices. Every manufacturer is a little different on how they get deployed, whether it can be loaded locally or pushed out. It's up to how it's set up, but it's very consistent on the configuration. Device name, local host name. Once we start adding the metadata here, more information will pop up, and then it'll also say, hey, how do we want to track, what do we want to track, copy, scanning, faxing. Do we want to enable it as secure print? What are we going to release to, or what are we going to pull it from Typically, you'll set it up for the Find Me print queues if we're doing that. And it gives you that actually second value or added value of releasing from multiple different types of devices. So the device tabs, and that's something through the configuration we work on. And then reports, very similar to how Papercut sets up the deployment of a user group account, same scenario for how we generate these reports. You know, user, printer groups, you got high-level executive summary. Just generate that report or just go and query it. On top of this, I showed you that you can do PDF, HTML, and CSV. If you want, in the reports you find you're missing some piece of data or you want to narrow down on it, these are very high level, great detail behind them, but you also have a flexibility of creating these reports as ad hoc. So you select the ad hoc reporting, and now we can get extremely granular into this. You know, user print copy scan breakdown. I can search on date ranges, specific username. If that user was tied to a group, maybe they were in a department, I can get extremely granular in how far I want. What was it? Was it a print job, copy job, scan job? So the great thing is high level to extremely granular. If you're leveraging this as an external database, not the Apache Derby, you can actually export that data out of the database itself, and you can put that information into Crystal reports, something similar to that, as custom generation for reports. And now you can even get, you know, as flexible as you really want. It's just up to you and what you require. Some universities may leverage printing with what they call top-up cards. They're prepaid value cards. So the user's already in Papercut, and they want to buy a block of $5. Or maybe it's guest printing because you're leveraging Heartland. So a guest is registered in Papercut. They log in, and they create a guest account, but now they need to add funds. Well, payment gateway, credit card, or they can buy a prepaid value card. They take it back, and they authenticate to their own personal web page, and they'll actually type in the number associated with that card. That card now has a value on it, and it applies that value into Papercut. A lot of flexibility, a lot of options. Again, just depends on how you really want to design and architect the solution. Through the setup, very easy again. You know, here's some options to set up. Ability for print archiving, display options, printer options, account settings, hold. You know, how do you want to do the hold print queue? How long do you want to set that timer up? Is it a minute, seconds for refreshing? Many, many things, configurations of the mobile side of the house. So we also have Google Cloud Print configuration, iOS printing, email to print, the flexibility on notifications for in and out emails, web printing, which I'll show you in a minute, and additional levels of other mobile printing. And I know we're coming up to an hour here, so I apologize for speeding this up. Notifications that go out, just a set of notifications, emails. Maybe there are some basic SMTP notifications for errors of printers. We're not a facilities management style solution for the printer, but we can give you some notifications that a machine is in error. User syncing, talked a little bit about this. This is where you would apply, what type of directory are we going against, select the groups that you're there with. Admin rights, we actually can assign different users to give them flexibility to the admin rights. I'll show you this user, Ryan Miller. We'll edit. We can actually restrict by clicking buttons of what he can and cannot have access to based on his admin authentication. And then the app log. I was talking about my machine being off, trying to hit emails. It's in error state. I like to say the app don't lie type of scenario. So first of all, user can't print, can't authenticate, or some reason. We check the app logs to figure out, hey, what's happening? Okay, Joe Polino can authenticate with his username and password, but his card's not authenticating. Well, maybe his card hasn't been synced to the system. So a little bit of flexibility gives you a lot of leverage on how to troubleshoot on your own before a support ticket may need to be opened. And we try to keep it as easy as possible. I did mention that the web interface for the user, again, depending on how you configure it, Everybody actually has their own personal dashboard. The dashboard can be somewhat customized. It gives the user a view into their history, their trends, their process, and what's actually happening. They have, just like the other pages, a dashboard. Here's my balance, here's my history, here's my trends, a little environmental impact. We also have an additional widget that the user can click on to see what they're personally doing against the environmental impact. Nice little green initiative if that's something that's happening on campus. We can see the user's shared accounts, what they have access to charge to, rates for those printers. We do realize that printing may not be, every printer may not cost the same, so you may want to be flexible on charging. Wide format prints can be charged by linear foot. We can charge for different page sizes. We also have the ability to give discounts to certain types of printing, meaning if somebody is printing a document that is going to be duplexed or two-sided, well, they're not paying for two pieces of paper. They're paying for only one, but they still are putting impressions on both sides, so you can discount maybe the page cost. So a lot of flexibility in what you want to do. I brought up the top-up cards. The user can type in the redeem that card right through here. If you choose, and this is all flexible, you can transfer funds to other users. Probably, I've never seen anybody really do that, but you can take this right out of there. Transaction history, what's actually happening, what's going on. Recent print jobs, a little bit more in depth. A lot of organizations, hey, what happens if the printer jams and we're charging the students their own financial? How do they get credit? Well, they can walk to an administrator. They can give them a username and password. The administrator can actually automatically apply a refund, or that user can actually go in and request a refund. Full payment, partial payment, refund request, bad image. That's the main reason. Hit submit. And now it says refund pending, and an administrator can look into that. If you have somebody dedicated, the administrator can actually get emails, notifications saying there's refunds waiting for you to take a look at. The user also has the ability to see jobs that are in their queue. Fortunately, you saw me print my last one for Joseph. And then we also have the flexibility for using web print. Web print means the student has their own personal device. They log in. They're on the Wi-Fi. They actually have the flexibility of actually submitting jobs. They can select whether it be black and white, color, direct printing, whatever you give them access to, how many copies they want. Do they want to charge their personal account or shared account if they have access? Then they have the ability to upload their documents. Mine's right now only configured for PDF, but we support PDF, XPS, and Microsoft Office documents at this time. We do work with other mobile print solutions that actually have many different file type options that we can actually leverage and track. EFI Print Me Mobile is one of those. So we upload the document. I submitted it. Shows that it's been submitted successfully. And it will now show in my jobs pending release because I did the Find Me print queue. There you go. Sent it. Sitting there waiting. You go back and refresh this because it hasn't hit the page yet. And there it is. The job's waiting for me to release. I can actually release it from here if I want. Send it to the direct print, and it's querying, and it will actually show in a second. Recent print jobs, 1157, and there it is, the recent print job. Go into the add credit. I apologize, Fred. I did this for a previous demo. Had PayPal. This would say Heartland or OneCard. User, if we're not charging per transaction against the Heartland OneCard system, we can actually have them apply blocks of funding as well, and it'll go against that. They hit add funds, it goes hit the credit source and pulls it in. And then ultimately, logging out, very easy. I do want to go back in real quick and show you the refund though. So we go to printers, you have an admin assigned to this, they can go to the refunds tab, they can be prompted that there's refunds waiting them to take action. Now we see a list of the refunds. And that administrator has the ability to review this, approve or reject the refund, and it will now apply that balance back to the student's Papercut balance. If they were paying via credit card or Heartland, we cannot put it back directly into Heartland. or to a PayPal account because of the reverse transaction. But what it'll do is it will go into their Papercut balance, and it'll charge against that before it goes to Heartland or any other credit source after the fact. And that, I believe, is pretty much everything I think I wanted to show you guys before we go to next steps. I know I threw a lot at you. You're not going to be able to retain a lot. If this has any interest, you want to learn and explore any more, I strongly encourage you to get with Fred and the Heartland team, and we can now bring it to the local level to really review your requirements, identify what might be there, talk a little bit more from the technical side. We'll get a little bit more granular into what your requirements are and help make a recommendation.
Well, thanks, Joe, for going through the demo and showing us all about it. We do have a couple of questions. There's three that I'd like to review. The first one is more related to the actual embedded application on the printer in terms of the process with the OneCard, and I just want to make sure that I'm answering the question correct because it was asked about process. So generally, if somebody sends something to print to a multifunction device and they walk up to it on the glass, they would the Papercut app is embedded within the printer, and they would simply just tap or swipe their card, and that would interface with Papercut to their network log on, show their jobs, they would select the jobs, and then it would authenticate against OneCard to charge for that job. Correct? Is that the process?
That is correct.
Okay, good. So I was paying attention.
Yeah, our website is EcoPrintQ. For Papercut, as I mentioned, we're the Authorized Solution Center. If you go to the Tour tab, you'll see a link over to the side, Tour MFD Integration. Select anything you guys want. We'll go to RICO. And if you scroll down, there's a little bit more in-depth detail, and then there's actually, for each manufacturer, a really nice video. And the video will kind of walk you through the process as well.
All right, great. Next question is there support for auto-swapping fonts that, for example, use microscopic dots of white space instead of the letters to reduce the amount of toner used in the organization?
Papercut actually doesn't do anything with the image itself. It's actually working with your normal Windows print queues or Linux print queues, so I hope I'm answering that the right way. We don't really interfere. All we're doing is pausing the job. So if that's actually part of your print driver, Papercut's not interfering with that.
Okay. The next question was, there's several machines that log into a shared lab account. Can they configure Papercut to prompt for Active Directory credentials when the PC is logged into a specific account?
Yes, and again, there's a few ways to do that. And I think I'm answering this the right way, where we call it unauthenticated and authenticated user. It might be a lab workstation, and it's open. So user goes in, they generate anything they want. When they go file print, it'll then prompt them for their username and password associated to their Papercut credentials in their Active Directory login. And then they'll see, what they have, if they're able to charge against shared accounts or not. We also, and I apologize about this, I didn't get deep into the scripting in any way. I showed you a few examples. Underneath the printers, we have a lot of flexibility. Even to get extremely granular on it, you may decide to give free printing during lab period to certain students. We have that flexibility. As I mentioned, there's many different scripts. I think there's about 50 or 60 of them that are dedicated to the higher education space. But to track the user, with the labs, we have a pop-up that can actually be presenting the user and identify the user in case there's no AD credential to that workstation.
Okay. And the last one comes in from a client that is using Papercut already, and it's more specific to a specific print device, a Sharp, that when students sometimes try to copy, they may receive a maximum color pages printed message. Do you know what causes that type of message to pop up? Or they're trying to copy?
Maximum, they probably have in their configuration, they set allotments for color.
Okay.
It may be a configuration side, and if they want to kind of, if you want, feel free to give them my email address, and we can contact them. I can just take a quick peek and see what it is, but it sounds like that may be a configuration at the device level for copying where there's limits that are actually set. Unfortunately, I don't have this. Go back to printers, and certain devices have different capabilities. They're not all the same. So to show you this, we could set this up. Oops, sorry. Go back to printers. Where is this? General print, filters, restrictions. They may actually have groups with color access, or they may be putting allotments onto those color accesses as well.
Okay, I'll put you guys in touch with each other. I don't see any other questions coming through, and I think that's all the time we got. We went a little bit over, so I do apologize to everybody. I know you probably have a lot of things planned for the day, all of our attendees. So thank you, Joe, for showing us the tour of Papercut and talking about how it can work with OneCard, and giving our attendees some more insight into the product set. If anybody has any questions that pop up afterwards, feel free to contact me, and I can loop you together with Joe and get those answered. And if you'd like to explore Papercut more for your campus, just let your Heartland rep know, and we'll be happy to assist you and do a personalized demo for your campus as needed. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Joe. Greatly appreciated. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, Fred. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.